Good morning. Anyway, let me see. I sanded this down. I used 120 dry sandpaper, wore out to go over it to get rid of the wire wheel marks, roughly to speak of. So anyway, I started here very quickly. And I wet sanded this. This is sanded with 400 wet. Um, when you use autosolve, the autosolve is equivalent to like 1500 to 2000. So you don't have to really sand there unless you want to save your autosolve. Anyway, by the time I got around to the other side, I noticed that there was cracks on every spoke. There. See if I can get it. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, like that one there is cracked even going out this way. So anyway, every spoke all the way around has a little crack. That one's quite bad right there. So, how am I going to deal with that? So anyway, then I cleaned this one up a little bit, got looking, and it also has cracks on every spoke all the way around. It's not quite as bad as the front one, but it definitely is cracked. You can see the... So anyway, this says in here maximum diameter 161, and that's 141. So okay, well anyway, I cleaned the back one up with the 400 because I had this idea. I looked on eBay and stuff, and all I could find was CLs and CBs. And when I zoomed in, some of them even had cracks, and all the hubs were either mismatched, like the front was 141 or 181, which was like 20 millimeters bigger, because different size rims and different bikes had different hubs. So anyway, the SL 350 seemed to be very rare, and each year they seem to be different than in other years. The 72s have a bigger, half-inch bigger hub because they have a 21-inch front wheel. So anyway, and I've already invested in spokes and rims. So I cleaned up the back hub with the idea that I wasn't going to easily find hubs, and I was going to try to take this to I have a couple friends that are real good at aluminum welding, and I was just going to have somebody run a bead of weld all the way around in this hollow and cup it into the hole to catch the beginning of the crack, and run a bead of weld all the way around and do a good job on both hubs. And then I was going to use a die grinder and clean out the holes and polish things up and call it done. So I sanded this down. I spent a couple hours. I actually spent like 4 hours polishing this one up before I realized it was cracked. And so anyway, with the idea of having it welded up, it's a little iffy if the job's going to turn out good, or if it's going to warp, or just shape the thing so the metal sleeve for the brake drum falls out. Like there's a few iffy things going on. So, and the expense of having it welded in. So I went back on eBay and looked for a couple more hours, and after a while, I found a new assembly for this new old stock from Thailand, fairly good price. So I bought it, and I found one of these in the States used, and it appears not to have cracks. It needs to be sandblasted and cleaned up, but it's no cracks. So they'll be here in a couple weeks. So anyway, that yeah, there's a lot of CBs and CLs, all different years, and none of them interchange with the SL. Or they do, but it's awfully hard because if you can't see that 161 for the front and that 141 for the back, if you can't see it, you can't take it for granted that it is, because the hubs look exactly the same, or can look exactly the same, and be half an inch smaller. Because same as buying a tire, when you see a picture of a tire like a 418, so you buy it and get it home, it could be oversized or undersized and doesn't match other 400s at all. Like, unless you have them side by side, you can't really tell. So anyway, I confirmed that I found two identical hubs to match these, so they should be on their way. Um, anyway, this just to say hello, kind of a bit of an update. I'll be back a little bit later.